Hello, everyone. It's your main man, Darren M. Palmer, Chief Book Officer of Self-Published in 30 Days. So excited to be here with you here today or whatnot. We have an amazing show ready for you today with books and business. This is a special edition of virtual fireside chat with the one and only Wendy Ditta. Wendy, say hello to the people.
Hello, hello everyone.
Well, Wendy, we glad and I'm so glad to have you on. I mean, the list can go on when I talk about this phenomenal woman. At the time of this particular recording is Women in Power month or whatnot, Women's Month. But I just want to just share that I have been impacted by her and her husband Keith by them pouring into my life, being able to meet them through her amazing son and being able to know that we had a connection, me and him, that led to me meeting this wonderful mom, and then Keith, the whole nine, and that is just a whole family affair. But one of the things that stood out is the book that we'll be talking about tonight wasn't actually completed at that particular time and that dispensation of time, but I knew it wouldn't be long before she would share her story with the world. And she has been able to progress and been able to evolve her and her husband to be able to carry it to another level. So for those of you who will be tuning in tonight, the reason that I brought Wendy on, outside of just being an amazing human being, they are somebody who her and her husband poured into my life too as well. So some of the things that you'll be able to hear doing whenever you listen to the rebroadcast or whenever you're listening or you're catching some of the reels or some of the things that we might be posting, just realize that this can work in your life. This is not somebody who is not living it. Her and her husband, they actually practice what they preach. They live it out on a day-to-day, minute by minute, second by second type vibe, and they've been able to manifest and help others and pour into things that you'll be able to hear about getting the book and the whole nine. So Wendy, welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now, Wendy, I shared a little bit about it, but if you don't mind, before we go deeper into questions and things like that, and share what you want to share, um, let's talk about it. The more I learn, the more I love.
Yes.
Let's just talk about that. Why that title of the book?
Well, um, it actually, the book started off as a letter to Bob Proctor. And
Mm,
as I was writing in this letter, I wrote the phrase, because Bob, the more I learn, the more I love. And I went, oh, wait,
wow.
that sounds like a great title to a book. And then, of course, I added Discovering the True Beauty of Life by Reconnecting to Self through Love, Light, and Laughter.
That's
So that
amazing. That's amazing. Now you said Bob. Now this could be the Bob at the local mechanic shop. This could be what Bob are you speaking of when you say Bob?
the one and only Bob Proctor.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. The man, the myth, the legend himself. We
Yeah.
love but I do want to ask you, what inspired you to write this book and what moment made you realize this message need to be shared? From that being an epiphany that this might be a nice quote, could have been on a
Mhm.
t-shirt, been on a coffee mug, but what
Right.
made it evolve to you understanding like, wow, this is more than just a catchy little thing or whatnot while I'm talking. What made you know that this was an actual book?
Well, my husband and I started studying with Bob in February of 2014. And 4 years later, after gathering all this wonderful information, let me just back up a little bit. For most of my life, I've always said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. Now, when people would say, what are you going to write about? I was clueless. I had no idea. It was just a knowing inside of me that I was going to write a book one day. And so after studying with Bob for 4 years, we're in 2018 at the time, I decided that I wanted to write him a letter and thank him for all of this wonderful knowledge that I've been able to implement and use in my life on a day-to-day basis. I love that my husband and I both studied together so that we could grow together. And as I started writing this letter to him, it turned into this book. And the letter just kept getting longer and longer. And I was like, this could this really be the book that I've been saying I'm gonna write for my whole life? And I just the reason it turned into the book too, of course, the letter was very long, but I wanted people to know what I learned. I wanted them to know what I was learning. Um, we had employees that we brought. It was incredible. I mean, Keith and I went to the first seminar with my son Josh, and then as I was at that seminar, I bought two more tables for the next seminar that was going to be in Dallas. And I mean, it just hadn't stopped since then. You know, we were there at every seminar every 3 to 4 months for 8 years. So it was just an incredible ride. And Bob, we connected with him on the very first day. Um, I'll tell you a cute little story.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. It's I think
This
it's
is
funny.
this is the
My
fireside
son,
chat, everyone. This is exclusive.
right.
This is exclusive.
Well, after watching the movie The Secret and Bob was in The Secret, and I don't really think of myself as starstruck or anything like that, but when I was at the seminar, I like to sit VIP. I like to be in the front. I tend to pay more attention, and so we're front and to the side a little bit. And um, during a break, my son left and came back. And he shows me a picture of he and Bob, and he says, "Nanny, nanny, boo boo, I got a picture with Bob Proctor." And I was like, "Dang it, I should have went with you on the break." And so, um, a lady comes up on stage, Mary Morrissey, and I didn't know who she was. All I knew was Bob. I was there to see Bob, and so I said, "You know what? Um, I'm gonna take a walk and go to the back for a break or whatever." Now, before Bob left, he announced that he was going to be doing a seminar in Dallas. So I immediately got my credit card out and bought two tables. $3,500 a table. I bought two tables, okay? Because I was like, I have someone in the office handling my money. I have someone answering my phones. I need everyone to learn this so we can implement it not only in our day to day, but in our business day also. So anyway, I bought the two tables. I run to the back for a quick break, and who's sitting in the back of the room but none other than Bob Proctor while Mary Morrissey is on the stage. And I meet him eye to eye, and I'm thinking like it's like my life's flashing before my eyes. I was thinking I have to say something witty. It's Bob Proctor, and so I say, "Hi, Bob," and he says, "Well, hello." And he says, I said, "I just bought my first table for the Dallas seminar." And he says, "Are you Wendy Ditta?" And I picked up my name tag and I went, "Uh-huh." It was just really cute, like my first interaction with him. And so he had my name written on this little envelope. And so I went for my break. And when I came back in, Bob was walking back up to the stage. And he announced at the seminar, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give a standing ovation for Wendy Ditta. She just bought the first two tables for the seminar in Dallas." And my son looks at me, he's like,
Wow.
"Who are you?" It was just really cute. And I was like, he said my name, said my name. Anyway, it
Come
was
on now.
cute.
Come
It
on
was
now.
cute. It was
That's
cute.
it. That's
So
what I'm talking about. You had a little nanny boo boo moment too.
yeah, so
That's
I
it.
had to
That's
give it.
it.
Yeah, so but I love that we both had an interaction with him, and yeah, and
Wow.
then my
Wow.
husband got very close with him as time went on. It was wonderful.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. I never knew that Josh was the first one that got the photo.
he did. He
I
did.
didn't know that. I knew both of y'all got a photo, but I didn't realize the sequence of
Yes,
how that came about or whatnot.
Josh was the first one to tell us about Bob having the seminar in California, and he says, "Do you and Mr. Keefe want to go?" I said, "Absolutely." So I booked it. We went, and years prior, we had shared the movie The Secret with our children at the table for dinner one night at a restaurant. And Josh got up immediately and said, after dinner, he says, "Hey, I'm going to go get back then it was the DVD or whatever."
Yeah.
And so, he was studying it and listening and watching the movie and all that. And I said, "Hey, what'd you think about it?" He says, "I thought it was interesting." And that's where we left it. Right. And then years later, he met the woman he wanted to marry. And he says, "Guess what I watched again?" I said, "What?" He says, "The movie The Secret." I said, "And what'd you think this time?" He says, "Man, I thought it was inspiring, because now he had uh direction in life. He had a woman he wanted to marry, love, take care of, and grow with and all that. And it was just so I feel like it came full circle. We introduced it to him and then he brought Bob back to us. So I
Oh,
love how that worked. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is amazing. The law of reciprocity taking
Yeah.
place. You know what I'm saying? There it is. It's working all together,
Yes.
with the
Yes.
whole nine. And you know what? And I'm I know some people are listening to this, and I know like what you just brought, I think that's a perfect segue when we were just sharing a component of Josh and the back and forth of the abundance, the overflow of
Mhm.
wealth, knowledge, inspiration, encouragement, and so on. But somebody might be looking at this right now. They might not be sure. They probably haven't read the book. Some
Right.
might have watched The Secret, might hadn't watched The Secret, might have saw a clip on Instagram with Bob Proctor, something about the subconscious mind and all that. But when it comes to your book, who is this book for?
This book is for anyone who feels like there's more to life than what they're experiencing right now. Um, I feel like it's it's for anyone who wants to be truthful with themselves. So we invited a lot of people to the seminar. Okay. I had some close friends who didn't want to go because they said, I'm not ready to cry at the table in front of people. And what she meant by that is because, Bob and Sandy would talk about things and it really makes you look within. And, not everybody is really ready to confront themselves, because as it turns out, I was my own worst enemy. It was me. It was not anybody else. I had to look inward. And if you're not ready for that, then you're not ready for this book. I can tell you that. So, because I'm going to ask the difficult questions. I'm going to ask you to be honest with yourself, you know? So,
Uh, yeah, so and like you said, that inner part and the inner work. Um, but would you say, Wendy, just to dive a little bit deeper into that,
okay.
um, most people would say that they won't change, but they choose not to change.
Hmm.
And wouldn't that be also in alignment with either a warped or a preconceived notion or something that they have that they're living by far as a faulty system that has actually been given to them that they don't even know that they have? Can you kind of share a little bit about the power of
Sure.
awareness when it comes to that?
Well, I feel like, when we're born, we're given a name, we're
Okay.
given a religion, we're given an identity that we really spend the rest of our lives peeling the layers back from that, trying to figure out who we are authentically. Um, I know for myself, I had to peel back these layers, and in order to reach the peace that I was seeking, I had to face my issues, my paradigms head on with fear before I could move forward. I had to stop running from it, and it was time to face things. I don't know if that's answering your question, but
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it is. And it's just for those who are listening in or whatnot, and you're watching this, and you could be thinking to yourself, it's okay not to understand,
Hmm.
but it also this is the opportunity by someone who's living it and walking it out. She's just sharing her story. Like, see,
Right,
it's hard to argue with somebody with their story. Now, you
right,
can argue about the Bible, you can argue about the Quran,
right,
argue about the solar system. I mean,
right.
all kinds of things that you can argue about.
Sure.
You got people who arguing every day, so that's
Hmm.
not an issue. People are debating or whatnot. But
Right.
when someone is sharing their own personal experience, I think that that's something that you might want to take notice to, and the book could be for, is
Sure.
because you have to understand too as well. You hear people say knowledge is power, but really it's applied knowledge. How
Applied knowledge. That's right.
apply?
Absolutely.
How can you even apply something
If you don't
if
know,
you're unaware of it?
right. Yeah, because they tend to shy away from things they don't understand, and
Exactly.
they'll label it and push it away when, man, I tell you what, it has opened up a whole new world for us, you know,
You know,
entirely,
it's
entirely.
entirely. And when you speak of the new worlds and that entirely, I'm just looking at people don't understand frequencies and they let it be taboo, but
Mhm.
they don't think about it the same way that you can be on an AM station, an FM station, or XM station. No, but you got to be on the right frequency. You got to be on the right tune or the right channel. And so
Right.
many people are missing that opportunity because just because you're on AM doesn't mean that XM doesn't exist.
Exactly.
XM
Exactly.
is still working. You're just not on the right signal.
Into it. That's right.
So you're not tuned into it. So
Mhm.
that's what Wendy's book is allowing for a lot of us to be able to do is just tune into the right frequency. So you can say all day, hey, I want to have this lifestyle. I want not to be anxious or have anxiety. I desire to have this relationship with my significant other. It might be an issue with you and a child, or you or a sibling, but
Right.
you're not understanding that the default is that you're on the wrong frequency. And when we talk about that, what is the biggest misconception, Wendy, would you say that people have about the topic that's covered in the book? Like what is it that you think is the biggest misconception?
Um, that the book may be considered new age,
Ah, gotcha. Gotcha.
you know.
Good.
Um, I just feel like I wanted this book to apply to everyone, okay? And so at times in the book, I mentioned God, source, universe, spirit. If you believe in a tree, fill in one word with whatever feels good to you. That's basically what I tell everyone. I feel like at its core, what many call new age is really about becoming more aware. So aware of our thoughts, aware of our choices, and actually it's the natural laws that govern life. I mean, it's not about abandoning common sense or tradition. It's about understanding ourselves more deeply and living with greater intention. And I feel like much of this wisdom, if you would, isn't tied to any singular religion or belief system. It's which is what I love the most, and I think you do too, because we've talked extensively about this. But I feel like it's rooted in timeless ideas about growth, responsibility, and harmony with life. I really do. I feel like, I mean, I could go on and on about this because this is one of the greatest things that people say, oh, is that new age? And I'm like, you have no idea. I feel they don't when they come to me like that because you know, many ideas labeled new age are actually drawn from traditions from thousands of years old. I mean, meditation, yoga, mind body awareness, or the study of consciousness, conscious awareness, or energy. Like you said, energy, a frequency. A lot of people are afraid of those words, but yet they know about them because how many times do you walk into a room and you're like, ooh, you could cut the energy in there with a knife, like, because you could tell someone's been arguing, but, God forbid, it just, and it troubles me because I was there at one time and now I'm here and I get it. And I have a better, deeper, I have I have faith with understanding now, which to me has been life changing. It's just been life changing. So.
OMG. Faith with understanding. Let her cook. Let her cook, people. You know what I'm saying? You didn't tell me you were gonna have your chef apron on today, young lady. So
I'm
she's
cooking.
cooking up some spiritual gumbo over there right now, whatnot. I'm telling you, got a little boudin on the grill. Y'all know
Right.
the
Come
southern
on.
thing. Y'all know we
Crawfish
have to
pound
help
down.
y'all out with that for all those people who not from down south or whatnot, what that's about. But with that being
It's
said, though,
wisdom. It's wisdom that's been studied and practiced and honored across civilizations for thousands of years. And they want to call it new age. I think it was coined that phrase many years ago and even in bookstores and stuff, new age. And I think it's to separate from what people have been traditionally raised in. And this is known as taboo. But I'll tell you why I think they do that if you want to know.
go ahead. This is the fireside chat.
Well, I feel like the power is within, and many traditional religions don't want you to know that the power is within. They want you to think it's out there, and it's not out there. We're not separated from God. God is within us. Kingdom of heaven is within. I mean, this could be a whole nother fireside chat. You know what I'm saying? But I'm ready when you are,
Hey,
but
hey, hey, hey,
that's where I'm
hey.
coming from with this. And I just, if people would just have an open mind and feel like they're not cheating on God, when they read a book like this, or they're shown something new, just this is what I do. Even with everything in the world that's going on right now, you know what I say? Observe, but don't absorb until you're ready to. You know what I'm saying? Observe it, but don't absorb it. To me, that's
Wow.
huge. That's
That's
huge.
huge. That is huge. That is huge. Matter of fact, I got to write that down right now. Y'all got to give me a break. Observe, but don't absorb it. Oh
Right.
my goodness. I had to write that down. I got to use that right there. I got to use that even in my daily life. But what you
Right?
just brought up, though, I mean, that's powerful though, Wendy, because
It
so many
is.
people
It
they're
is.
stressed out. They got angst. They're all over the place. They're like a chicken with his head cut off, running around or whatnot when it comes to life, and they're totally not even aware of what's causing it.
Right. Right.
That's the thing that like you said is can be a challenge for me is when you are aware of what's going on and you can see people that you love or people you care for or they're good people or but
Absolutely.
they don't even know that they're creating the world. They're creating the experiences that they're having, even though they don't want them.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know that it's what's happening within
Right.
that's actually giving them the story. It's repeating
Right.
itself, but they don't know it's a broken record.
Right. And in here, I talk about how, um, oh, I lost it. Sorry.
Nah, you good.
Repeat what you just said. Wait, repeat what you just said.
I'm just repeating on how most people are unaware and they're like a broken record.
Yes.
They're living a life that they don't want to live, but they don't know that they're creating it.
Right. Right. It'll come to me. Sorry, I lost it. There was something that just kind
Oh
of came
no, you
through my
good.
mind, but
Yeah,
it'll
you're
come out.
good on that. And I'm going back to too as well, like what you was just talking about. Like, I mean, the more I've observed and looked, did it come to you or something?
No, go ahead. I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, but the more I observe this, and like you just brought up, I think this false narrative that people are having, and I'm not saying that everything, I'm not speaking to everything, but I'm speaking like your book and others. There are certain things that are just practical, like you just brought up, that are being just twisted, and people are jumbling up. That's actually scripture.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually like okay, so are you I'm just using this as an example, just
Okay.
I'm not getting off the soapbox with this, but um greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world.
Mm-hmm.
What the same resurrection power that rose Jesus Christ from the grave resides in us. For us to get up from every circumstance and every situation, that resurrection power is in us. You overcome the world through with your faith.
Right.
No, so when you look at the power is within.
Right.
So, and now I think to me, just with your book and others, really focus on your book. I think some of the pieces that are missing is the connection with mankind with um the higher faculties.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say for instance, I'm just use this as an example. Um, biblically speaking, you got God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I'm just using that example. But man is a tripart being. So man is a spiritual being. Number one, that's who man really is, a spiritual being. They reside in a body, but they possess a soul, a
Mm-hmm.
tripart being. Now let's
Have an
look at the
human
soul.
experience,
There you go.
Mhm.
Having
Right.
experience by their here on earth. So
See,
let's look
most
at
people think we're human having a spiritual experience, but we're
and,
spiritual
and
beings
that's not the
having a
same.
human, right?
That's
Look
it. And
at this
so
today. Look at this today. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're right on point.
well, look at the movie Avatar. So now we all have avatars and we all have, it
Yes.
really, to me, I'm a very visual person. So it helps me think about that now that, I learned a new word, avatar, many years ago when it came out, right? Because I'd never heard of that before, right? Um, and I was like, this is my avatar. I chose this avatar to come here and have this spiritual, this experience here on Earth. I know now what I wanted to tell you before. Okay. So hang on a second.
Yeah, take your time. Take your
Okay,
time.
you were talking about how people are doing things they don't realize that they're inviting certain things in their lives. It's because they're working against the law and studying with the laws. Okay? They're working
Wow.
against the law instead of with the laws of the
That part.
universe. And it's in here. I explain all of that in here. So we don't have to elaborate, but it's in here. I'm telling you, it's
It's
good
in the
stuff.
book. Just said to get the book.
Great nuggets. Yes,
Get
yes.
the book. And when you want to know if you was okay, let me give an example. So I don't want people to get lost.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. It's just like if you are unaware, I'm I don't eat that much, but someone could be overweight, their calorie intake isn't what it needs to be. Um, they could be having blood pressure issue, high blood pressure issues, things. I'm just using this as an example. But that person might, some people could look at them and say, "Oh, come on, get real. You're just eating up stuff," but they're really not. They're actually eating. I eat salads, and somebody might snicker or laugh. Oh, that can't be true. I'm looking at just no way. Now, that person is eating a salad, but unbeknownst to them, they're eating a salad, but they drenching it in ranch dressing.
Right.
So they are not aware because they don't have a
They
nutritionist.
think they're eating healthy, right?
They
But
think they're eating healthy because it's salad,
right,
but the ranch dressing that they're putting on the salad, they could have ate 3 cheeseburgers.
right.
So even though they denied themselves the cheeseburgers, they actually the calorie intake because of the ranch dressing
Sure.
is actually hindering them. So
Mhm.
they're meaning to do what's right with the limited information that they have. But
True.
unfortunately, the law is still the law.
You know
So
what Bob would say?
what's
If
that?
you don't know the law, you lose.
There,
That's what he says. I mean, he was
that's
so adamant about that. And I can help you with another example.
go ahead,
So we own
please.
our air conditioning company on this corner, and we had someone work for us for many years. He started with us. It was time for him to break free. He wanted to open his own business. We signed off on his license and all that good stuff. He opened up down the street, another corner, just not even a half a mile from us. You could throw a rock on his building. He had the biggest turnover. He couldn't keep employees. They kept coming to us, wanting to get hired through us and all. And what we tell people is it's not doing certain things, which is what he was doing. He was doing certain things. We were doing things in a certain way. Okay. So that even relates to the salad or the diet or the way you're eating. Some people are eating, okay, but some are eating in a certain way. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I
Hey,
know it sounds like a play on words, but it really
oh
is.
no, oh no, I'm picking up
Really
what
is.
you put down. Some people doing it, but I'm doing things in a certain way. And
Right.
that's the catch. If
Hmm.
you are not aware of that, you're actually working against yourself. So if
Yes.
you want to be summertime fine girl, then you might can't just put all that ranch dressing on there or
It's
whatnot. If
ranch
you want to
dressing.
be in your bikini or whatnot. If you plan on being in Cabo and
Mhm.
not being out there at sea, you want to be the people that people see, then you gotta move differently. And so
Right.
I wanted to give those who are listening the practicality and some of the tangible steps that you're talking about in the book, Wendy, because
Mhm.
I think that is some of the things right now, even when it comes to what we will look at as traditional religion, that some people have had issues with. It's like you're telling me this, but what is the practicality to it? Like how can this help me with my bills? How can this help me with a trouble situation with me and a child? How can this help mend a marriage? How can this help me grow my business?
Mhm.
Because I can't, these are things that I'm dealing with on a daily basis,
Right.
but they're knowing it's there the whole time. But because how it's been, and I'm not saying for everybody, just disclaimer, but for
Sure.
a lot of people, they're not being equipped and empowered.
Mhm.
And some is not them even trying to hold them back. They don't know themselves.
Right.
They just been taught a rhetoric that is not conducive to growth.
Right.
So
Well,
now it looks like that it doesn't work when it's there the whole time. You're seeing examples of the law
mhm.
all through scripture, but because somebody didn't break it down to you,
Yeah.
you are unaware
Yeah.
of, oh, that's the law of vibration. Oh,
Mhm.
that's the law. Okay, the secondary law. Oh, that's the law of attraction. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, that person manifested this. And then imagination
The
is
law
you.
of cause and effect. That's you reap what you sow. It's and as a man thinketh, so is he. And
There you go.
this is the thing, but most people don't think. See, Bob would get on stage and he'd say, if people thought before they spoke, the world would be silent. Because most people open their mouth and they just vomit stuff and just
There you
stuff.
go. Yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't make any sense or that causes friction or they're not talking about ideas, they're talking about people. I like to talk about goals. I want to talk about a mastermind. I want to talk about my next million I'm going to make or whatever. I mean, we've got to get off of this people need to start thinking. They need to start thinking before they speak. People need to ask good questions. As I don't know. Guide me here. Where are we going next? Help me out.
Wendy, when I hear you sharing this, and that's why I told you when we did this, I wanted this to be a fireside chat
Yeah.
because these are the nuggets that people get like, oh my gosh, that clicked. The precept and example of showing how these are tangible steps that I can go and implement immediately. And when we look at that, if you don't mind, you might have something. I'm sure it's a lot. You got so many things in your book or whatnot that can be helpful for people. But
Sure.
what would you say? That would be more of like a breakthrough concept that could immediately shift someone's mindset or situation
Okay. Um, it's a shift
from
in
your
thinking.
book.
Huh?
From your book.
Yeah. I would say what I just said, a shift in thinking.
Hmm.
Um, the journey from where they are to where they want to be. Um, I feel like my book teaches growth. It isn't about, let me think. It's not about becoming someone new. It's more about uncovering who you're meant to be. Okay. And this is the thing. Early on in the book, and I think it's in the introduction, I talk about how I felt like, you know, we are God's highest form of creation, but I didn't feel worthy of that title. See, I mean, you're talking to someone in the book. I talk about how I went from gangster to goddess. Okay. Like I
Come
don't
on
really,
now, gangster
yeah,
the guy. I like that.
now I talk about all these beautiful things in here, but you're talking to a woman who was a very mean person at one time. I was very reactive. Okay. I didn't respond, I reacted. I'm going to get you before you get me, kind of thing. I mean, I'll tell you this little tidbit, and I really don't like sharing it, but I'm going to do it for you. Okay, Darren?
Okay, come on now. Come on. The fireside chat, baby. Go
I
ahead.
remember to give you an idea of how mean I used to be, and I think this is pretty mean because it's really just not who I am. So I went to return a shirt to Dillard's or somewhere that I didn't have a receipt for. And they said, well, we can give you your money back, but we can only give you, let's say the shirt was 50, they could only give me 30 back because it was on sale now. And I said, no, that's not going to work for me. I paid 50, I want 50. And, we're going back and forth. And then, I could tell she couldn't help me. So I said, listen to me. I need to speak to somebody who earns more money than you do. So I didn't say I want to speak to your manager. I said, I
That
want to
part.
speak to somebody who earns more money than you. Like I was just real ugly. And
Mhm.
that is not who I am. Back then, I was always on guard. Now, that's gangsta Wendy, okay? Now, she's still here and she'll surface when I need her to, but she's not at the forefront of my conversations, of my daily life. You know what I'm saying? Um, the transformation has been incredible. I mean, you're looking at a woman who, in the beginning, I mean, since a child, I um, feel like I've been putting up, people talk about an onion, peel an onion. I talk about I put a wall up, one brick at a time. When someone hurt my feelings, oh, there went a brick. Oh, I got hollered at, there went a brick. Oh, I didn't win the race. Oh, that went here. Oh, I gained weight. That went here. Oh, I got divorced. That went here. I built this wall of paradigms and fear and all this craziness. And I spent a lifetime removing one brick at a time, trying to get to me, to my authentic self, not who the world told me who to be. You know what I'm saying? To me, it was an incredible transformation. I love who I am. I love my life today. I love helping people. And, a lot of people will say, I can't even imagine you. And I said, me either. Me either. Um, I don't know. It's very powerful. And so while I was sitting in Bob Proctor's seminar for the first time, every word he was saying was resonating with every cell in my body. I started crying. And my husband's looking at me. He doesn't know what to do with me. My son's looking at me. Are you okay? I'm like, well, I'm okay. But that was my shift, my awakening. It's like I realized I was the one who stood in my way all this time. And this is another key point here. By building that wall, I'm thinking I'm protecting myself, right? Well, guess what? That was also blocking love that was trying to come in towards me, but I didn't see it that way at the time. But looking back, of course, that's what I see. And I tell you what, too, part of my evolution here, or my growth is, there was a popular woman in the past who had this talk show every day, okay? And she would have people on her show and they would talk about, oh, live your authentic life. And I'm thinking, I'm authentic. I know who I am. And I'm thinking, I was clueless. You hear me? I was clueless. But I'm watching it and I'm thinking, what do they mean, your authentic self? I'm here. I'm me. I know who I am. Clueless, clueless. And her guests would come on the show and they would talk about the conscious and subconscious mind. And then I would buy those books and stuff. And I'm like, I'm reading, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm reading. It was just way over my head. Well, if you don't mind, I'll show you this. I started studying with Bob, right?
Mm.
Actually, I'm sending this to you. I'm gifting this to you. This little
Wow.
stick man here. So
Yes.
Dr. Thurman Fleet designed this little stick man, and Bob Proctor basically used him for most or all of his teachings. Okay. And so because I'm a visual learner, I love using this. We were taught about, hear, taste, sight, touch, smell, those little senses, right? But no, we have these higher faculties. They're in the book. One is imagination, will, reason, perception. Okay, it's a little gold mine in here, little great nuggets, right? Well, when you talk about this, say this is your head, okay? And because we're visual learners, we have a line drawn here. So the top is your conscious mind. And the
Mhm.
conscious mind has the ability to either accept or reject anything it hears, sees, reads, okay? The subconscious mind is subject to anything the conscious mind accepts, it sinks down into the subconscious mind, okay? Subconscious mind doesn't know what's real, fake, past, or in the present. That's why if you ever watch a scary movie and you get scared and you see this chainsaw, now we all know that chainsaw, it can't hurt us, it's just a movie, but the subconscious mind doesn't know that. So you get scared. Okay. It thinks it's real. And think about this. You can think about when you were a child and someone very special in your life, and they may have passed on, and you talk about them and you may tear up. You tear up because the subconscious mind thinks it's right now in the present. It doesn't realize it's in the past. Yeah. And so there's a book from Joseph Murphy, and he talks about it's the power of the subconscious mind. You've heard of that book, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. So in the book, he talks about how sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me, right? We've all said that as a kid, right? But I remember crying, saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but I'm crying. And I remember, I'm telling you, Darren, I remember thinking, but that's not true because my feelings are hurt. And they do hurt me. Well, he explains it in the book, and it took me to be 40 something years old to understand what he's talking about. And it might seem minute to you, but I'm telling you, it was just such a revelation to me to understand how the mind works. So when I had the guys make this for me, I had him add a little heart here because what I'm going to explain to you is so in eighth grade, I was sitting on the bleachers. Now I'm 5'11". I think I came out the womb 5'11". I'm tall, okay? And I was sitting on the bleachers during gym and I saw Wendy is a giraffe carved in the bleachers. Like it's there to stay forever, right? And I'm the only Wendy and I'm the tall one. So I know it was about me, right? So my conscious mind accepted it. So it sunk into my subconscious, which is connected to the heart. And that's how my feelings got hurt. That's how feelings get hurt. So when people say, you hurt my feelings, you know what? No, you allowed them to hurt your feelings. Because what I should have asked myself is, why am I crying? Why does this hurt my feelings? What is wrong with me? What is really wrong here? I shouldn't be mad at them. What's wrong with Wendy? I had probably zero self-worth, eighth grade, we don't know who we are. We're trying to figure out who we are, and all the boys come up to here on me, so and another thing too, when I was in second grade, when I walked in the classroom, there were three round tables, okay? The first one, the teachers made it known. This is below average students sit at this table. Table two, the average students sit here, and table three, the above average sit there. Well, I was at the average table. So my whole life, I felt just average. So that label stuck with me my whole life, Darren, my whole life. Yes. And so I remember in high school, oh, are you going to go to college? Well, I'm not going to go to college. I'm just average, So I never entertained it. I became a hairdresser, which I loved at the time, but I didn't see myself getting a college diploma because I felt just average. It's sad how these labels are put on us. And, Bob used to say, schools don't teach you how to earn money. They teach you how to count money. They teach you how to divide it, multiply it, but they don't teach you how to earn it. And I mean, it's just so much that when you're so little, your mind is like a sponge and you absorb all this and we carry it with us. And that's why it's taken me a lifetime to peel back these bricks to get to who I am, my authentic self.
And you know, right? And I mean, that's phenomenal what you're sharing with us. And it's so many layers to what you just brought up. But like you brought up, like the sticks and stones component. I think we know that it's a myth that if you're not aware of it, it can hurt you because you allowed it.
Right,
But most people don't even know that are allowing it to hurt them.
right.
And then for those who do know, they think that they're helpless.
Mhm.
They think it has something to do with the person who might be in
They're
sin.
blaming it on them. Right. That's why in my book I have questions I ask you, listen, you got to take it seriously. I tell everyone, don't just read this book and put it down. You got to study this book. Bob taught us how
Mm.
to study a book. You don't understand a line, stay with it, read it every single day till it clicks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, right
Mhm.
there. And this has been great. Actually phenomenal. But I know right there, I think this is the part that I think because you gave them so many gems of something before we close it out
Mhm.
of the practicality. You shared lifetime, you shared repetition, which we know from our elementary teachers, repetition is the key to learning, but it's
Mhm.
actually a universal way of learning too as well in component.
Right.
So you share far as what we look at far as implementation of the importance of people changing how they might have been taught of thinking I'm not knocking people from reading,
Mhm.
but in biblically it says in all you're getting get an understanding.
Mhm.
And this is the same thing too, as well, like what Wendy just brought up. But some people might have missed what was just shared, what Bob gave it. Well, why would somebody read the same page every day?
Over
Why
and
would they
over.
read the
Right.
same book every day?
Well,
Why?
my husband. So Bob had asked me to study in the book Think and Grow Rich to study the chapter on persistence, and it's persistence is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Okay, I studied that chapter for 90 days. I read it with a girlfriend. We read it every single day for 90 days. And my husband looked at me and he says, "That's like punish work. Why would you want to read that same chapter over and over?" we were just getting into this, right? And he's like, that's like punish work. Well, then Bob puts on a seminar and it's called The Invisible Side of Success, which was an incredible seminar. It was videotaped. Bob walked up to our table, all this good stuff. And Michael was at our table, and Bob says, Michael, can you make a decision? And he's like, yeah, I guess I can make a decision. And Bob says, it doesn't sound like you can make a decision. Is there anybody at your table who can make a decision? He says, Keith. And he says, Keith, stand up. Mike says you can make a decision, you know. And so anyway, Bob ended up having them read the chapter on decision from Think and Grow Rich for 90 days. And so I said, oh, Keith, how you enjoying that punish work, you know? But he learned so much, first of all, for himself because he's dyslexic. So it was very hard for him to, it was so cute kind of watching him practice reading before he actually read with Michael, you know, every morning at 5:30, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I think that um I'll tell you something. I lost it. I'm sorry. I'm just like so much I just want to share with you. But ask me another question. I don't know. Get me rolling. Get me going.
No, no, I'm just looking at the repetition component of it, like
Yeah.
you just talked about. Like,
Well,
so
you
many
didn't know
people
your
don't
name was
get that.
Darren until your mom and dad kept saying,
Exactly.
Darren, Darren. Oh, I'm Darren, you know, and then, but that's how we learned. That's how we learned everything, you know. Uh, every seminar we went to, and I know you came with us to one, every seminar was basically the same. He might have named it a different title, you know, but he basically talked about the same stuff every time. And, you know, friends would say, how do you listen to the same stuff every time? I said, because it all doesn't speak to me. Sometimes I get this out of this one and I got this one out of this one, just like going to church. You know, the preacher or pastor might say something and it might go over your head, but the next time he mentions it, you're like, you know what? He's talking to me today, you know,
There you
and
go.
that's how we learn. That's how we learn. And
Mhm.
so we just kind of drowned ourselves in this material and just studied it together. That was the key. Study it together. Bob used to call it the divorce seminar as a joke because, well, we would do VIP lunches with him and he would get real personal with us. And somebody would stand up and say, oh, my spouse isn't here. And he's like, oh, well, welcome to the divorce seminar. Because, you know, when I, when I went back to work, the first thing Amanda said was, how was the seminar? And I went, I didn't even know where to begin. It was an experience. It's an experience. You have to show up. You got to go there and experience. So that's why we said next time I'm bringing Amanda, Serena, Kathy. We brought all of them. We brought all of them, you know. So you want to grow together. If not, you grow apart. You know, I learned that from even my first marriage. I've only been married twice. I'm still married. But my first marriage, I really feel like had I known this and understood it, I might even be married, still married to my first husband, honestly. But we didn't know how to communicate. Um, there was just, we were growing apart. We didn't grow together, you know. And, you know, I think I talked to you about this when we had dinner that night that, you know, Bob even talked about, you know, when you get married and you say till death do us part, he doesn't necessarily, he's like, that's not necessarily till you actually die, it's to the death of the marriage, you know. And that's what I'm talking about, to get you thinking differently. We have to unlearn what we've learned because we've been taught backwards. You know, you think seeing is believing, it's believing is seeing. You just, we need to unlearn and relearn. It's,
Woo!
I love this. I could talk about this all day. I love this. I love this. It's just, it's, again, it's transformed our lives, you know.
Wow. Transforming your life, and like, some will hear this and like you just gave that nugget right there. It goes again. It's until the death of the marriage, not until death of you as of your tenure here on earth.
Right, right.
But if you don't know that, you're with a situation that shouldn't even be in because you think because you've been taught something that's not relevant really, but you don't know. You're just going by what you know.
You don't
Somebody
know,
told
you
you.
don't know. You
You
don't know
don't know
what you
what you
don't
don't
know.
know.
And that's why this is what I tell people, Darren. Okay. Now hear me. You're gonna write this one down, okay? I feel like when we study this information, it's a gold mine, okay? Not even monetarily. I just mean it is so perfect and so grand of what we have learned and what we're taking in, right? That the people who don't know, it's up to us to love them right where they are. We got to love them where they are. We got to meet people where they are, you know? And you know, if they don't understand it or they think it's woo woo, again, that's on them. They don't know what I know. They don't know what I know. And I know so much more than what's just thrown out or made fun of or whatever. It's so much deeper. It has so much more meaning. It's just incredible. It's just incredible.
You know what it is, and I have a joke that that our family back in the day, me and my mom, we would watch some stuff. When my stepdad, before he passed away, be family like they would show commercials,
Mm-hmm.
and we still get together, but it was some years where we weren't as conscious far as eating or on health on certain things. And so we was thinking and then, coming from the South or whatnot, the Southern way of eating is totally different than other people's way of eating everything or whatnot. It could be viewed as just like overeating if in most cases, and they can be right in certain circumstances. But it would be they would show stuff on TV and it'd be from stuff up north, and we would crack jokes. It was like, oh my God, could you imagine? Like, look how bland that is. Like, they only have that they
Right.
only have that right there to eat or whatnot, but they really showing the proper portions and all that.
Right.
And it was just such a joke. And then we had my younger brother or whatnot. He had, because of some stuff with his health, he got on a journey for just making sure you're eating appropriately. And this is before it became like a big thing. He found out that he had some issues with gluten and gluten
Mm-hmm.
free. So that's before it was like the big thing and
Right.
selling points at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. But he
Sure.
found it out and it helped out his, system or whatnot. And he was just wanted to be able to be healthy. He wasn't trying to do it to lose weight, but he was informing my mom of certain things we eating. And then it's like we look back at that and we were laughing because it's like the whole time we were laughing at some of those commercials, they were right. The commercial was actually right on the stuff that they had. They had some stuff that was good, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not saying that you can't eat certain things, but that was the thing. So you don't know. So like what Wendy just brought up to us, some of you might be thinking, oh, Wendy and Darren is talking woo woo and Keith is not here. Okay. I live in a real world. Darren and and Wendy, y'all don't know. It's just gonna pay my bills and do this. I can reading the same page. That's hogwash. But you don't even know that because you're speaking that way. Like when they say, we're going to love you wherever you are. And it's for you to be able to have that moment, that epiphany, that aha moment, just the same way that we did, where you'll
Mm-hmm.
start realizing, like, wow, wait a minute. I frame my world with my words.
You do.
So on the canvas of my
Not
imagination,
wrong,
I
right?
create that's it.
You know, I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. And I could tell you one breakthrough concept from my book is you don't get what you want, you get what you are. Okay. So in the law, I share several laws of the universe, and it's so one of them is the law of obedience. What are you obedient to? Are you obedient to salads with ranch dressing? Are you obedient to sleeping until noon? Are you obedient to calling in sick to work all the time? What are you obedient to? Because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. Are you diligent? Are you on time? Do you have goals set? If you don't have a goal, you're going to miss every time, right? What is important to you? What is your vision? And I love that because Bob used to talk about um, the desires of your heart, and it's like the desire puts it out there, but the expectation is what reels it in. But most of the
Mm,
time it breaks off because most people they desire it all day long, but they don't expect it. You know what they say? That doesn't happen to people like me. Oh, that of course it's going to happen for Wendy and Keith. They're just lucky. Yeah. And luck
yeah,
is what do they say about luck? It's where preparation and opportunity meet.
yes, right.
That's luck. And it's like I'm telling you, if we can do this and change our lives, I mean, we sold our business for several millions, as you know. That didn't just happen. Okay, that didn't just happen. It's not doing certain things; it's doing things in a certain way. We live our life this way. We live our life this way. You know, you don't get what you want; you get what you are. You'll never be able to outperform your self image. That's another good one, too.
Mm.
You'll never be able to outperform your self-image. If you don't think you can do it, if say you're a basketball player or anything in sports or a speaker or anything in business or just anything, if you don't see yourself achieving the things you want, it's because your self-image is kind of off kilter, you know? You got to redirect, develop a better self-image, read some books like this, dive into it, do some studying, study, reflect, and then act on it. It's like you said, um, knowledge without implementation, you get nothing.
I,
Yeah.
I
Applied
think
knowledge. You gotta have applied knowledge, right?
applied knowledge, and I like what you
Mhm.
said. What are you obedient to?
Right.
See, and I think that's where it throws the woo-woo stuff out the window because
Mhm.
you have to self-assess and you also got to hold yourself accountable. And I think that's another part that a lot of people, especially with Never Gooder, when he talks about that, is that like, because now when you realize, oh, I can't blame nobody. See that,
Right.
see some people you lose them right there.
Right. Because they don't
They've
want to
been
be held
using the blame
accountable.
game for so long.
They're
Now
a
you telling
victim.
them I'm not able to blame nobody.
They're a victim. They're a victim when they
Victim
need to be a
mentality.
victor. Right.
That
Can I
part.
read to you? Can I read to you
Please,
what the law of
please,
obedience says? Okay.
please.
The law of obedience tells us that we are building our lives either in wisdom or ignorance, depending upon the direction of obedience. Now, while we follow this law of obedience, we welcome into our lives happiness and peace. If you obey a negative lifestyle, you will indeed receive a negative life. As you obey the law, the proof will be in the results. Pay attention to what you are building in your life and life through your daily habits. I mean, it's simple. It's this isn't big words. This is so another thing I want to share with you is I wrote this book in a way that it could be understood. So remember I was telling you about that lady who had a show every day and she had all these people on her show and they talked about conscious and subconscious mind and I
Oh
didn't know what
yeah.
they were talking about. Okay. Now I can read those books. Okay. The words in those books have not changed. I changed. Wendy changed. Wendy grew. Wendy grew in obedience. Okay. So what she wanted to learn, right? I grew in awareness. And once you have awareness and a visual way to learn, that's how I was able to read those other books on conscious and subconscious mind. So, what I say is, and I'm not bashing those books at all, those books are wonderful. I just was too naive in my study and in my new calling and, where I was pulled to go to start with those books. I feel like my little book here, I feel like it's a stepping stone. I feel like it's written in a way it's easily understood. I share a few stories about how I went from gangster to goddess and how I changed and all this wonderful stuff. But I really think it's a good book full of nuggets, full of some little one-liners, and I love my gratitude chapter. I mean, it's I think it's incredible. I think it's incredible.
Man,
So.
I appreciate you sharing that, Wendy. And I would like to close us out
Okay.
just with the last word you just brought up. What does gratitude mean to you, or how should others view gratitude?
Hmm. Okay. Well, can I read a little something to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I feel like gratitude is one of the highest emotional frequencies we can experience. Living in a grateful state of mind has opened the floodgates for all of the good to enter into my life. When we are grateful for every opportunity that arises, we guarantee ourselves that life will undoubtedly send more opportunities our way. I've always thought of myself as a grateful person, but I now have a better understanding of what it means to truly be grateful by seeing the effect gratitude has had in my life. Some days I'm just in awe of great and awe and grateful to be alive. I've noticed the quality of my life has escalated to a new level since cultivating a deep sense of gratitude for everything and everyone. Gratitude is prayer in the highest form. Being grateful all the days of our lives is praying without ceasing. Gratitude being an essential part of my shift revealed an overflowing feeling of appreciation, love, and joy. I feel like everything kind of spawns from gratitude, you know? So that's what gratitude does, as it is a most powerful practice. So when I express gratitude, I'm not declaring that my life is perfect by any means. We all experience the ebb and flow of life. What I am declaring is that I am fully aware of the blessings in my life. So, and I think gratitude should be expressed as a pure thought. You know, why is it that many people are only grateful for the things in life that they're threatened to lose? Only then popping up out of nowhere declaring gratitude, right? What if you only received today what you were grateful for yesterday? Hmm. You know,
Wow.
when you live in gratitude, though, see, before my feet hit the ground,
Mm,
I
mm,
go
mm.
through a list in my mind.
Mm,
I wake up, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for waking
mm,
me up for another day. And I go
mm.
through all the wonderful things in my life I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the things I don't have either. Because it's easy to be grateful for the things you already have, right? Be great. This is how you manifest things. You live in gratitude for the things you don't have yet. You know, that could be a whole nother fireside chat too. You know, it's just so incredible. There's so much to this. So much. So much. When you live in gratitude, in my kitchen, I have a metal sign that says gratitude. I see it when I go to bed and I see it when I wake up. You know, just live in gratitude.
Wow. Wow. This has been a phenomenal fireside chat with Wendy Ditta. I'm so thankful and have gratitude that you took time to be able to pour into us tonight. Some of you, this is where you have to use the things that Wendy brought up to us today. This is something that you got to play back. Like, this is not Tulsa warmed over. You just think, oh, I got it all the first time. I'm good. I don't need to repeat. This is something for those who are serious about learning. If you've been aware to know, some that's something that I'm feeling right now. That's the higher version of me calling right now. That's something that's resonating to you right now. What you heard today. That's not something that it's not just heartburn. It's something
Right.
right now
So, right.
that's resonating with you because you know you should live a bigger life. You know you want more impact. You
Mhm.
know that you should at least be able to have the peace that you desire. And you
Right.
might feel uneasy right now, whatnot, whether it's wars, rumor wars, or certain things that reels and stuff that you're watching, and you're thinking to yourself, I can see the peace. What you don't understand is you can feel the vibration coming from me and Wendy.
Mhm.
That vibration, that wavelength
Mhm.
it's something that you like, wow, I'm used to static.
Right.
This is like
Right.
where I should belong. This
Mhm.
is making sense. I had some of these questions. I've wondered and felt like my prayers wasn't answered.
Mhm.
There's things that but how can I be upset at God? But who can I talk to that? I can't ask ChatGPT about that. That might not give me the right answer when it comes to that. So that's why you want to have a book like Wendy's, and we're going to make sure that we put all the information on how you all can connect with Wendy, be able to purchase or invest in yourself to get a copy of the book. And we also would like to hear from you for as testimonials and things that you see manifest in your own lives and some of the transition and
Mhm.
life-changing things are going to happen because you read the book that Wendy has put out there, whatnot, for the world to be able to benefit from.
That'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful.
That's
We had a
it.
friend, we had a friend who was single and she talked to my husband and she's like, I just can't find a good man. And Keith says, do you sleep in the middle of the bed? She's like, well, yeah. He's like, sleep on one side. When you have dinner at night, do you set two plates? No, we'll set one, even though no one's sitting there. Set another plate. Do you have room in your closet? She says, no. He said, make room. You got to be ready to receive it. You got to be ready to receive it, you know? And Bob used to say, like all this stuff we're talking about, he used to say, his mentor said to him, Bob, every time I see you, you're broke, sick, and tired. He's like, when you see me, I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, and I'm vibrant. He's like, your way's not working. Try mine until you figure out I'm lying to you or it's not working. Try my way. And that's what I feel like saying. Just try my way. Try my way.
Yeah, please try that way and whatnot. And you know what? It'd be remiss of me before, and I know I was talking about closing this out, but I do have to just share this a little bit. We don't have to get into everything, but for those who are thinking and wondering, like, okay, we're talking about the book. what are some of the results? What are some of the things that have happened? What are some of those type of things like that? And Wendy brought up earlier, whatnot, I had to get into all the details, but her and her husband, had a very successful business,
Mhm.
impacted a lot of lives, and were able to make an exit
Mhm.
for several figures or whatnot. And we're not talking about five. I'm not knocking this because we gratitude for everything.
Right, of
But this
course.
is not just $5,000 or $10,000 or whatnot. They had a significant exit or whatnot. And can you just share a little bit about that, Wendy, as far as how y'all have manifested this in business too as well? And plus, I know you shared a little bit about how you've manifested this in your marriage and
Mhm.
and the whole nine. Can you talk a little bit for those business professionals out there on how this can be implemented in business? Because some are, well, Darren, I'm a business owner. It
Mhm.
sounds good for my wife and kids, but what does that have to
Right.
do with a business owner? We got to make sure we hit Q2 numbers. That's what I'm focused on, Darren. So can you share the power of that,
Sure.
what you've experienced?
Sure. We sold our business for $53 million. Okay.
Mm,
Not that that's even relevant, but I mean, because 153 is a lot more, right? So everything is relative, right?
that's
So,
it.
but hey, 53 million was a lot more than what we had. Okay. And I know there's more to come. Okay. Let me tell you why. Um, First of all, it's very important to write down your goals. Bob Proctor would give out goal cards, GOAL, goal cards. And it would say at the top, I'm so happy and grateful now that. And then he wants you to fill in your goal as if it's already happened. Because we want to live as if we are running that business we want to be in. We want to dress like the position we want to have, right? We want to live as if. So Keith had a goal card and he wrote down he wanted to retire with $80 million and 20
Hey,
million.
gold card right there.
There it
We just
is.
show an
Yep.
example. Just want to show
Love
an
it.
example. Go
Love it.
ahead, go ahead.
He wrote on his goal card because we joined a small mastermind group at Universal Studios actually with a friend of ours there who produces movies and stuff, and he invited us to come and Keith wrote on his goal card, I want to retire with 80 million with 20 million uh, cash flow. And I was like, woo, that's my baby. Yeah, not even no, this is in 2018, I think, 2018. And I was like, Lord knows we don't know how it's going to happen. And that's one of the main things is you don't need to know how. Okay. You just need to believe that it's going to. I know it sounds woo-woo. For those out there, I know it sounds woo-woo. My husband is a man, he's a big man, tall man, um, likes Tony Soprano. I mean, I'm just sharing this, like I'm trying to show you like he's a tough guy, kind of like whatever. He wouldn't do woo woo. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like he's not going to do silly little things, right? But when Sandy Gallagher and Bob Proctor said, write down your goals, guess what he did? He wrote down his goals. Something very magical happens neurologically through your neural pathways and all this when you write something down. Okay. Now, of course, we manifested $1 million yacht in 3 months. That was a big deal. Bob had us on stage because you know why he had us on stage so much? Because we did exactly what he told us to do. Okay. Very important. Do what you're told to do. If Bob would even mention a book, he didn't have to tell me to buy it. Guess what? Wendy was ordering it before I left that seminar. You know what I mean? It's almost like a college course. They're not going to hold your hand and tell you how to do it. You need to do it, right? Um, so we started leveraging ourselves, hired some great people. We live in New Orleans, and so we have the Superdome. Now, next to the Superdome is we have the Smoothie King Center. It was 75,000 for this huge digital sign. Now we already have our uh, advertising budget for the year going, and Bob's like, you need to get on that sign. You need to get on that sign. And Keith's like, I lost you. Did I lose you?
Here. No, I'm here. I'm just
Okay.
showing everybody an image of me, you, and
Oh,
Keith.
I see. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we tell Bob, well, Bob, to advertise on this Smoothie King Center, it's 75,000 for 6 months. And Bob says, Keith, you can measure the cost. You can never measure the gain, right? Oh, we were like psh, mind blown, right?
Oh,
We get home, we call in, we get on that board. We have every air conditioning company in the city either laughing at us or saying, "Oh, they think they're big stuff." We're up there with Zatarans and Bud Light, all that, all the big people. And I remember we stopped on the side of the Superdome, and tears almost came out of my eyes. I mean, I probably did tear up. And Keith took a picture because that was a big deal. That was we busted through a paradigm, and we did it. We just did it. So that attracted us, one of the best salesmen we've ever had. You just, they talk about law of attraction. Well, that's law of attraction isn't sitting back hoping and wishing things happen. Wishing isn't willing. You need to do the work, right? We
yes.
did the work. We put up the money. We put the sign up, and the people came to us. They came to us. You see? Yes. And then, we had no idea how Keith was, we wanted 80 million, And so a few years later, we get a letter in the mail or a phone call, and people are wanting to buy the company, which we've gotten letters over the years, but we never entertained them. And it's like, you know what? It might be time. And sure enough, this is what happened, right? And then um, at that little mastermind group, when Keith had his deal written down, we have investments. So what going to these seminars did for us, it cracked us wide open. Okay, because we're in LA, even a little bitty house is like $1 million, right? Okay. Now we lived in a $1.2 million house. I'm only throwing numbers out for relativity for people to know. Like my first house was 1,500 square feet. Okay, and so we make our way, and then here we are in this house, and we go to LA. Everybody lives in $1 million house, so we're nobody. Like not that we thought we were anybody, but it was. Oh, that's nothing here. So
That's so true. That's
right,
so
it
true.
is. It is, and it's just again, relativity, right? And it's so anyway, we meet people, they want us to invest in this. I met some other people to invest in this company, and we just started saying yes. We started saying yes. We have so many investments out there. There are two that are about ready to come to fruition. It's going to be incredible. He's going to surpass his goal. I'm telling you, he's going to surpass his goal.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Come on.
Can I share one more little story with you before we go?
Please,
Because
please
I
share.
want to share the power of knowing. Okay. Keith and I, we lived in that house, that $1 million house, and I wanted to sell it. I wanted to build a new house. Katrina came, we had water. It just wasn't the same, so I just wanted a new house. So I rented a little apartment because I was tired of showing the house. So I said, honey, let's just move into this little apartment, and things will be easy. I can finish my book here. And, oh, okay, we have two stories. I'll be quick though. So we're in this little apartment, and I'm trying to finish my book, and we're probably there 6 months. And I said, honey, I really, we had a two-bedroom apartment. I said, I really feel like I need more space. He says, oh, so you want a bigger apartment? I said, no, no, I don't want to move again. I just want another apartment, like in addition to where we are, so I could finish my book, because one was his office, one was our bedroom, and I was working on my book at the kitchen table. When people would come, I put everything in a basket and all this stuff. Well, so because he studied Bob with Bob Proctor with me, he understood where I was coming from. This is when I knew I loved this man so much, because you know what he said to me? He didn't say, "Are you crazy?" You know what he said?
What do you
So
say?
he says, so what you're telling me is you need more space for you. Like he got it. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah,
repeated back
exactly.
to me. He mirrored me, right? And I said, yes. He says, let's get on the computer right now and see what's available. Do you know, in that entire complex, the only one bedroom studio apartment available was right next door. Right next door. So I mean, I just think that's incredible, because I feel like God knew what I wanted and needed in
Wow.
my life, and the idea came to me right at the time it was available. Like, okay, okay. So I have one even better. Okay, so I finished my book there, by the way. So while we're there, Keith is on his phone and he's scrolling like this, and his hand is bothering me, my peripheral vision. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He says, "Oh, I'm looking at condos to buy so we can rent out," because he got in this kick. He started buying a whole bunch of rental property. Now, this was in March of that year of 2018. And I said, well, you know what? That's where we could move to, because the day before I'd said, it's time to move. We need to move. And he's like, where do you suggest we move? We didn't build the house. And I'm like, I don't know. I just know it's time to move. I got this download. Okay. So he's looking, and I said, that's where we can move. We can move to Orange Beach. And he says, but you said you would never leave. You'd never leave. And I said, New Wendy is not attached to anyone or anything. Okay. Kids have their own lives. They're doing their own things. Wendy wants to do what Wendy wants to do, for Wendy and Keith, right? And
Yes.
he loved it. He says, you know what? That's a great idea. So the next day I have condo on the brain. I'm looking at condos and I said, honey, I found one. It looks move-in ready and they have this big common area. So he gets home and he says, babe, that's the penthouse and that's not a common area. That's the balcony for that condo. And I said, well, that's the one I want. He's like, you got to be kidding me. And I said, no, I'm not. That's the one I want. So that was on a Wednesday. We drove up on a Friday. We met with a realtor and we looked at other ones while we were there, but we also kept going back to this one. I was like, the balcony is the wow factor. So I said, put in an offer. He's like, but if we put in an offer, we need to come up with like 300 something thousand to put down. But I've been buying all this rental property. I don't have a lot of cash on hand. I said, well, we'll just sell our lot because we never built the house. He says, that could take months. And I said, do you believe in what I teach? Just like Bob would say, do you believe in what I teach? And he's like, whatever. Like he was aggravated at first, right? Well, he came home that Sunday and he's like, all right, they came back. We went back and forth for a price, right? They accepted our offer. And so he says, what are we going to do? He's like, we have to come up with 320,000 in 4 weeks. And I said, well, like I said, sell the lot. Oh, he's frustrated. He calls the realtor on Monday. Thursday, we get a call from our realtor. We have a cash offer on your land. Somebody wants to buy it and they want to close in 2 weeks.
Hello. Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
we had the 100,000 to come up with the difference. And so anyway, 2 more weeks later, we closed on the condo. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like, this is the thing. I got the download, okay? And when I feel like this entire book was downloaded because I don't speak the way I write, okay? And when I'd get stuck on a paragraph or a chapter, I would go lay on my little shabby chic rug and I would say, God, I'm open, and I would just ask for it and it would come to me either through my mind or on a TV commercial, or a car would pass me, or I'd pass a sign, or a friend would call and mention something. That was my answer. See, this is the problem is we don't ask. It's ask, believe, receive. First, most don't ask, they assume, and they don't believe it. They don't believe it's going to happen. You know, I don't know. I just know this is my life. This is how it's been. If my husband was here, he would tell you Wendy is a master manifester. He told me, he says, you scare me. You scare me, but I believe it and I trust in it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you.
I was writing down that master manifester. I
Yeah,
got to add that into, my confessions or
that's
whatnot.
right.
I gotta throw that in the mix in there. Master manifest. I was like, oh, wait a minute now. And like you brought up though, Wendy, is that for those who listen, and I love, I'm going back to this again. It's
Mm-hmm,
the regimen of faith, the regimen of manifesting. Like,
mm-hmm.
there's some, just, I think it could get a bad rep but you debunked a lot of that today. Hey,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm asking and I'm believing what I'm asking. I expect for it to happen. I expect for it to happen, but this is the other catch to it is that now I go knowing that it's done, but I'm doing the steps.
you have to
Like
do the work.
you
And
you, you didn't go and not submit a request, a bid for the house, and
right,
just say I'm gonna lay there on my phone and scroll. You
right.
had to submit it.
That's right. That's right.
But were you about to say something, Wendy?
Yeah, I think I lost it. Hold
No,
on.
no, no, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good, you
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But
I know
that's
what it was. Sorry, I know what it
okay,
was.
go ahead.
When I mentioned faith with understanding. And so
Mm,
to elaborate on that, it's understanding all of this. It's understanding
ooh.
all of this. It's faith with understanding, knowing how the universal laws work, knowing what I'm obedient to, knowing, you get back what you put out. I hate the word karma because most people use it, I say the wrong way, okay? But they'll say karma's a bitch, okay? Karma is not. Karma just is. It is what it is. You put out good, you get good back. You put out negative, you get negative back. This is you reap what you sow, you know? Are you frozen? Oh, Darren. Well, if anybody can hear me, I'd like to leave you with an affirmation that Bob used to share with everyone. And it says, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities on a continuous basis through multiple sources of income. Get used to saying that. Repeat it every single day. Write it on your bathroom mirror. Put it on a piece of paper, tape it on there, and recite this every time you go in the restroom. Oh, Darren. Let's see.
Wendy.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what happened, but I'm back and whatnot. Did you remember your last part?
Um, I did. It was about faith with understanding. Did you hear that
Yes,
part?
that's what we, I know. I you that. The
Oh,
faith
wait.
with understanding is knowing how all of this, the universal law is all working together.
Right. It's all of it. It's all of it.
Mm,
The law of
mm,
obedience. Just all of it. You reap what you sow. Law of cause and effect. Law of specificity. Get specific about what you want.
mm,
People would tell Bob, "I want more money." He'd say, here's $1. That's more money. How much more money do you want? Be specific about what you want. You know.
mm. And then it's working all together for the
It is.
good.
It is. It's
You
wonderful.
know, and
Yeah.
that's the catch.
Yeah.
That's the catch.
Yeah.
Wendy, I appreciate you once again. I knew it was gonna be bananas, but like I said, that's why I'm glad that you flowed tonight because even with this, even as we were doing the fireside chat, there was things that you elaborated on that I didn't know you was going to be able to go deep on, but I knew that's the power of the fireside chat. We didn't want to get, too tied up on questions alone. We had questions that we addressed, but we knocked those questions out, but we got bonus round people. I'm telling you, you got 300 level courses. And also some of the information, just think about this. This is a hack because of her, when we talk about seed time harvest, you reap what you sow. Look what Wendy poured out today. So some of you might be like, well, Darren, I don't understand. They have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, um, um, thousands, tens of thousands of hours of reading
Mhm.
and masterminds and working on themselves, fighting through old paradigms and things like that to get
Mhm.
to a place like this or whatnot to be able to pour into us. So, yeah, it's easy for you just to show up and get this information, but this has been consolidated with the best of the best practices, learning from some of the best who've ever done it. So when you
Mhm.
get a Bob Proctor, you also uh get Earl Nightingale, you get them in that organization. You get Never Gooder, you get
Yeah.
Joseph, you get all this has been
Bill.
passed
Oh,
down. Napoleon Hill, there you go. It's just endless. So it's just like the stuff that you're learning goes back. Like just think about when you were born, the person who taught you, if their parents or their grandparents taught them, then the knowledge that you're living with in 2026 can be from the early 1900s.
mhm. Mhm.
Because if somebody was born in the 50s or something, or if they were born in the 30s, then that person who raised them was close, could have been born close to the early times or whatnot. So,
Right.
and they going up, that's a faulty system. So most of the time we're not thinking about these things like, who taught me that? Well, who taught them?
Mhm. All
They're
right.
giving you the best. Yeah.
Have you ever heard the story about the ham bone?
Oh, yes.
I'll
Yeah, but
probably mess it up, but
you go ahead and share it though if you want to.
I'm probably gonna mess it up. But
No,
this
no, go
woman
ahead,
saw
please.
her mother cooking, and she'd always cut the ham bone out or something to put it in the pot.
Yes.
And then when that little girl grew up and she got married, she'd always do it. And I think her husband or somebody asked her, "Why do you cut them?" Well, I don't know. That's just what my mom did. So without even thinking, they're just doing things because it's what they thought they're supposed to do without asking or without looking into it or whatever. I feel like we get stuck on stupid, and I don't really mean, stupid or ignorant. It just means you don't know, but we get stuck there. And again, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, I was stuck on stupid for many years in my
Oh
book.
yeah.
Bob talks about levels of awareness. I was stuck at number 4 for the longest time.
Mm,
And then it hits you and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, I wish I would have learned this
that's
so
it.
long ago. But I know that we all learn it when we're supposed to. That's where
There you
I
go.
I am I am
That's the
with that.
catch.
I can't argue with it. It is what it is. And not everybody's ready to receive it. And that's okay too. That's okay too.
There you go.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, we're closing out. I'm glad that you shared that. Even with my journey right now, I'm on another level with it. And I look back, I was just, and I think it was by accident. I know it wasn't by accident. I ran into some stuff like, wow, I was getting bits and pieces of this information years ago. Like I asked you all, I said, well, I had been listening to some of the Bob Proctor stuff and reading it. Um, and you and Keith asked me, like, well, why haven't you been to a seminar?
Right.
And then I thought about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm stuck on stupid at that time. I was like, you know what? I don't know
I don't
why I
know.
haven't been to,
Exactly. Right.
but then that might seem silly to somebody, but I'm
Mhm.
just showing that as example with my own self,
Right. That you were
how
aware of it, you were studying it, bits and pieces, and Bob was right there, and it just went over your head.
went over my head. So even though I was reading it like Wendy was talking about, even though I was listening to audio, looking at YouTube, I'm just immersing myself in this content.
Mm-hmm.
It never clicked. Hey, go to one of the events.
Yeah.
Why haven't you been to the event? You go other places. Why haven't you went there? And so I look at it now, and with years of this going back to this, like I said, as we close it out, I'm just giving proof of my own life with this. Now, the part that she just brought up, and I think this is a great place to just put a pin in this message for today, is that the faith with understanding,
Yes.
knowing how the laws work together. So
Mhm.
now I'm having a better understanding. So now I
And
know, because you could be doing one thing but leaving the other part out, or you're not really, or you're hearing somebody, but it might feel like they're talking over your head. That's what
right.
Wendy's book is a great place for you to start your process, because this can be consolidated to get you on a fast track, so to speak, where you got clarity of vision. Wherever you got clarity of vision leads to acceleration to the known goal. So now
Mhm.
you're not refraining from reading stuff because now it goes from daunting to doable. Oh, that makes sense. Oh,
Mhm.
I was saying the affirmations, but I didn't know my feeling was opposite of that.
Right. Right.
So I
Because
could be saying something and not feeling it and not receiving it.
because the feeling is the secret, right?
There you go.
Neville Goddard, the feeling is the secret, and that's the
The
thing.
feeling is
You
the
can
secret.
you can put the desire out and the desire puts it out there, but the expectations rolls it in. But if you don't feel like you've already achieved it or received it, it's going to break off. Guess what? It's going to go to somebody else who believes it,
There
you
you
know?
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Money is not prejudice. It goes wherever it's wanted. Okay. We had a young lady who worked with us and her calendar, she had the big desk calendar and she had her bill, her light bill written up, her water bill, her house note. I said, "What is all this?" "Oh, this is got to make sure I have my bills." I said, "Amanda, we are not going to have this calendar on our desk because," I said, "How does this make you feel?" She just gives me anxiety. I said, "Well, let's get rid of this calendar." It's like we don't need to see this and harp
No,
on and worry. That's pushing
that's
it away.
it.
It's not bringing it to you. And
Ooh.
this is another thing. I know I keep dropping nuggets. I
Oh
know we're
no,
trying
no,
to
no,
end
you
this.
good.
I know we're trying to end this. I'm sorry.
You
I
good. You
love
good.
talking
Go on,
about this.
drop it out. Drop it out. This is the fireside chat.
But with anything in life, like your business, you're either or a marriage, you're either working on your marriage or you're working on a divorce, depending on our decisions,
Yeah.
right? We're either working on our entrepreneurship or we're working on living under a bridge or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, again, what are we obedient to? What do we want? What are we doing when we wake up? What is your perfect day? What do you see? We've got to envision the things we want. We got to wake up and do the things we need to do to live the life that we love. You know, People get up, they're dragging their feet because they're not happy about where they're working.
That's it.
They're not in alignment with where they should
Ooh,
be, and what they should be doing. But
ooh.
that's when they need to ask themselves these questions. What do I really want? What do I want out of life?
Mm.
You know?
Mm, mm. Man, I mean, this is so good. This is like Campbell soup. Good.
Oh, good.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm just like, even like that. I like
With
it.
one affirmation, okay? Just one affirmation.
Okay.
I want to read it. And this is one that Bob would say all the time. And I want to leave all your listeners with this so they can write it down, put it on their mirror so they see it every day. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities on a continuous basis through multiple sources of income. It is so.
Mm,
It is so.
mm.
Mhm.
I received that. I received
Yes.
that. Wow. That is powerful. That is powerful. Now look, for those who stayed to the end, look what you got. See, that's it. See, you fought through the whatnot. You was able to persevere or whatnot. The perseverance component.
Right.
Just because of what it looks like, that is an old story. That's not your new story. The you that you desire already exists.
Yes.
You just got to choose to select it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't have to outwork it, out hustle it. You do what you need to do, but you don't just need to get caught up. I think you Wendy for that, because if we're not careful, we can get so consumed with the external
Mm-hmm.
and we're not understanding that we're repelling what we really desire, which has to start from the inner first and then the outer.
And the mind, we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. We are
Mm,
transformed by the renewing of our minds. Got to
mm.
start
And
thinking.
you know what you just said with thinking, and this is something else, Wendy, and that's I know some people understand. Do you know, because The scriptures talk about meditate on this day and night. When you understand the law and you understand what we talking about, the faith with understanding and all this, money isn't prejudice, it goes to whoever wants it. Either you working on prosperity or you working on poverty.
Right. That's the word I was
You
trying
know,
to think of. Thank you, Barbara.
yeah, that's it. We was connected when we teamwork, girl. That's what we do. We do teamwork. But if you looking at it that way, when you understand that, I can't tell you because I know this now of how much peace I got. Like I heard Bob doing a book I was telling you about. I think they seen your screenshot of, but he was talking about it. He was doing the pandemic, and now because my wavelength was, I got understanding now.
Mhm.
Hey, these are the best of times for me right now.
Mhm.
Creation is happening.
Right.
Relationships growing. Stuff look like it's coming from nowhere. Well, I know where it's coming from, but it's been so now I'm at because I understand the law. So now I'm just implementing.
Right. You create your own economy. Who
That's
cares what's
it.
going on out there?
Who
I'm
cares
creating
what's
my
going on?
own
We're doing a fireside chat right now. I'm not caught up on the Suez Canal. I'm
economy.
not worried about what's happening. I'm not so because when you know that nothing can stop, when you understand how powerful you are and what's in that you are God is in you. When you understand that God is in you, then you like what? When you really realize that there's nothing, like Wendy brought this up early in the chat. When you understand that you have to allow somebody to make you mad, you have to allow yourself to lose. When you realize that the power is you, and it don't matter what anybody else thinks, nobody can keep you from your ideal life or the life you want to live. Nothing, your boss, no matter who president, no matter what's happening in the world, nothing literally can stop you. If you really believe that to be true, you would move like Wendy was bringing up. You wouldn't be dragging your feet in the morning. You get
Right.
up, I get up with an excitement now,
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter what's in the account, it's not predicated on that. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what somebody said online or what, it doesn't matter because when you know, it's just a matter of time
That's
that
right.
what you're internalizing within is going to be without.
Right. You're not a victim, you're a victor. You
Victor.
know?
That's
That's
it.
right. You
Wow.
know?
Well,
And just
Wendy,
live
thank you
it.
again.
You
Thank
so
you again for those who are tuned in. We will
thank you.
make sure we get you the information that you need. But when I got to get last words is you, Wendy. I know you share so much. Do you have any part piece of advice or any last comment you want to share to the people?
Uh turning turning information into real life results requires intention. Information alone does not create results. But again, we talked about, but applied knowledge does, right? So study it, reflect, and then act on it.
Mm. Yeah, study, reflect, and then act on it.
Act on it.
Okay. Until next time, everyone, remember that let your next move be your best move. Go be great. There's
Yeah.
nothing that you can't do, but you got to receive it. You got to believe it, and you can do it. We'll talk to you next time. Be blessed and be great.
Thank you.